Hi, I'm Dustin with Overworked Logic. In this video, I want to share part of a course that I created for SIMPL Plus programmers called TLDR Plus, and I'm going to be teaching you about structures. You can do a lot of stuff without using structures. It just lets you group the data a little bit better. So let's take a look at this here. So the way to do it is with the keyword structure, and we'll just take a quick look here at the help file. Structure name, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Now this is one where you need a semicolon at the end. So inside here, you've got a bunch of different data types or different variables that are contained in a structure. When I went into learning C#, this is kind of the idea of a class where the class has a name and it has members inside the class. And you can basically reference it by asking it different parts of it. So this is sort of an object-oriented almost way of looking at things, but on a more basic level, it's a way to group things together. So if you've had, ignore all this other stuff for now. If you have the structure of a person, for example, let's say we wanted to make a database, and I don't know why you'd want to do that in SIMPL, but say you needed to keep track of some stuff that way. So you could just store a bunch of strings. You could have an array of names, an array of first names, an array of last names, an array of birth years, for example. So you could have string first name, say we have 50 of them, or say we have max people, because I'm using that constant. You could do it like this. Now you could put these in the same line as well. I should just show you that way if you want. If you did it this way, then you could make it work. You could go loop through count equals 1, 2. I'm using the constant just kind of to reinforce why it might want to be used, where it's useful. It's max people, so you only have to change it once if you're increasing the size of your module later. So you go this way and you could assign first name count equals this. You could assign all the elements there, but then it gets a little bit messy trying to deal with them later. The structure groups it all into one variable. So if I define something called a person and I say they have a birth year, which is an integer, they have a string, which is first name, that's 25 characters, a string, which is last name, and 25 characters, I close that. Then I've got this, basically this container that's a people, and it contains these 3 data types together as one. So once you have the structure, you have to declare an instance of it to be able to use it. So if I was just declaring one, I could say person, which is the structure type, and then the name, single person. You could do it like that, and then later in your program, you could refer to it as single person.first name equals me. And let's just see if that will actually compile. I'll put that in a function test. Because remember, you can't have any statements that do anything outside of functions. So it did not like that. 28, I'm missing semicolon. Where it gets cool is you can have an array of persons. So I can define person, bunch of people. That's my array with this count of max people. So that means I could have bunch of people 1, bunch of people 2, bunch of people 3, etc., and access the elements from each of those persons. So what I've done to describe that and explain that is I've got a small little program that loads people. It's going to sort of randomly add people up to 10 into a list, and then display people will print it out. So in order to demonstrate this, one other thing that I haven't showed you yet is make string. So make string is similar to the trace function, where you have a format specifier and you substitute it with the actual values, but it has one more property to it. The first argument when you call make string is the destination that you're writing the string to. So I've got a loop, I'm going to loop through all the available slots. And each time through the loop, I'm going to write to the first name, bunch of people count.first name. And let me just show you as I'm typing that out. Bunch of people, because it's an array, it's count. Or because it's an array, I've got the square brackets, and I have to fill that with a number value, or count, which is incrementing in my loop. And then dot, and this is the element or the member of the structure that we're addressing. You can just do up and down, dot first name. So that's where we're writing the string that we're going to make to. Then we're putting in quotes, we're going to say person, and then %u for an unsigned integer, and then comma with count. So that's going to be the value. So it's going to be person1, person2, person3, etc. And same thing with last name. So think of make string, it's the same as a trace, except trace doesn't have this first part because it's going to the console. Make string needs to write it to a string, and you pass that string variable as the first argument here. Hopefully that makes sense. I kind of breezed through it quick, but I want to use this for my example, and I wasn't able to insert the %u value without doing make string. So we've got make string. We're going to do first name, person, number. Last name is going to be last name, number. And then the birth year, bunch of people count, dot birth year, which is an integer. We can assign it directly. And I've never used this function before today, but there's a random function. Most languages have it, and SIMPL Plus does as well. You call it with random and give it an upper and lower bound, and it will return a number. So I'm just asking it to return a number between 1960 and 2010, just for fun. And it's going to write that to the birth year, and then it's going to print adding this first name, last name with birth year. It's going to go through all 10. Then when you press display people, it's going to go through that list again and read them out. So I've already compiled it, and I'm going to demonstrate it here. Just a quick note, the TLDR Plus course is still in beta, but I'm running a promotion right now for $99. You get access to the 6 pre-recorded videos, plus you get 3 months of community access to our private community, where I will work with you one-on-one and in the group to teach you everything I know about SIMPL Plus. So if you're interested, the link to sign up is right here, and this offer is open until Friday. So jump on it if you can. If you just want the videos only and you don't need the community portion, I'm offering that for $49 with this promotion. First thing we're going to do is display people, because this is after the program starts. They're all blank. There's no names. There's no integer values. They're all 0. But notice it's not an error. It's just there's nothing in there. So if you're doing something like this, you might want to check for if there's nothing, then say it's invalid or somehow return some information. It depends on how you're going to use it. I can't actually see where you would use this exact example, but it's a very good demonstration to show how a structure contains different members. So let's load the people. And it added this, person 1, last name 1 with birth year, and these are random. And the only reason I'm doing this insert timestamp is just to kind of give it a space. You could do clear trace as well. I find if you have like a big program with lots of stuff, clear trace kind of locks up sometimes, so insert timestamp helps to kind of just put a horizontal column basically, so you can separate it when you're looking at it. That's all. So now they're in there. If we load them, and it will spit them out properly. This is an example of a program where you're making use of a bunch of stuff. You're using a loop, you're using arrays, you're using structures, and you're doing a lot of stuff without having a lot of instructions. And can you imagine if you had to do each of these 10 line by line? That would be crazy. And then if you had to increase them to like 100 or 50 people, you'd have to have all these different lines. Being able to loop through it, or the programming term is to iterate through this structure, step through all the spots, all the slots of it, and pull out the data and put in data, makes it useful. So one further application of this might be if you have a string input for a first name, a last name, and an age, and maybe that comes from a touch panel. So say you want to build a database, just a simple little database of user definable information. Now, keep in mind that these are not non-volatile unless you have that keyword default non-volatile. Meaning if you don't have this in here, it's going to erase it when the program restarts or when the processor restarts or when you reload the code. So you'd probably want to do that if you had a database. But also if you're using it for a database, you might want to write it out to a file, and that's something we'll get into later. So in other applications, you could have a string input where people could provide this information from a touch panel basically and press add. So the add button would go and add the data to the next available slot. Now you would need a global variable to track how many slots are being used so that if the slots are filled up, you can have an output to SIMPL that basically said it's all full, and then you could pop up something over top of the entry saying it's all full, making you delete one or something. So there's a lot of things you could do with it, but this is a little database, and I don't know how you would do something like this in SIMPL, but SIMPL Plus makes it actually pretty easy. Thanks for watching this video. Please like it here on YouTube, and comments, I love to read them. Let me know what you're thinking about this video, and subscribe to the channel so you can get notified when we're posting new videos. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.